Every man reaches a moment when he realizes the life he's living isn't the life he was born for. Not because it's bad, but because it's small compared to the calling that God has placed on him. That moment is the invitation for you to write the next chapter. The question is, are you willing to accept it? In this episode, I want to help you walk away with 3 really important things. Number 1, how to recognize when God is calling you into a new chapter. Number 2, how to design a life that outlasts you through alignment, not hustle. And 3, the practical steps to build a 12-month plan that anchors you to purpose and legacy. For more than 2 decades, I've walked alongside high-capacity, faith-driven men who look successful on paper yet feel a gap inside. I've lived that story myself, and today, through Men of Greatness, I help men close the gap between who they are and who God has created them to be. So, let's start with the truth most men avoid. The next chapter doesn't begin when circumstances change. It begins when you change. Men of greatness, rise and stand tall. What's up, everybody? Thanks so much for joining for another episode of Unlocking Greatness. Whether you're watching on video, you're listening via audio, I so appreciate the support. I've got a lot in store for you today, and I want to dive right in. So let's start off by talking about this next chapter. And I want to help you see that this next chapter that I believe God could be calling you into starts with alignment, not ambition. And I just want to reference back to our last episode when I talked about closing the gap. It was really important that we understand that closing that gap down is about alignment, right? I talked about that a lot. And so rolling that into this episode, I want you to see that this calling, this pull that you feel, it's about alignment. It's not necessarily about ambition. You probably are exceptionally ambitious. You have big desires, big goals, big dreams. It's not about that. Look at legacy is not written by striving harder. It's written by becoming aligned with God. I see this all the time in the men that I work with and the men that I engage with. I see men who have hit so many incredible targets. There's one friend of mine specifically that he is very well respected. He's an owner of multiple businesses. He's in legit shape. He does crazy fitness challenges. I mean, he is, for all intent and purposes, he's successful. He's got it together. And it's been interesting to watch. As much as I respect him, I love him, I admire him, I've watched particularly this year, and I've seen him start to detect in himself a gap, an emptiness. Now, he is not, he believes in God. I don't think he is a committed follower of Christ. And so there's going to be a big gap there anyway. But I think that what I'm trying to get at here is it's really easy for driven men to achieve success in one or more areas of life and still feel. And what I notice with this friend of mine, and I've started to share a few things with him. I haven't just come right out and say it yet, but I've started to share some things with him. And what I see is that because of his lack of full commitment to Christ, he is experiencing spiritual misalignment. He's experiencing this gap between who God has ultimately called him to be and who he is. And as the result of that, it just never feels like enough. And then unfortunately, he'll hit a roadblock, he'll face a failure or a challenge, and he's like, oh man, I need to fix that, and then I'll do better. I just need to recommit to this. I need to double down on my goals. I need to rediscipline myself. And all of those things are good things, but they're missing the spiritual alignment that's necessary for clarity, for confidence, for direction. If you want to ultimately nail these things, you need to get realigned. This is what our Closing the Gap framework speaks to, and you've heard me talk about over and I'm never going to stop talking about this because this is one of the simplest visual illustrations of this emptiness that we often feel inside, this feeling of being off. The gap is grounded in faith, authentic in action, purposeful in pursuit. When we understand this, and again, I talked about this in the last episode, you can go back and watch that if you need to, but when we are grounded in faith, we understand who we are and whose we are. When I know who my creator is, I can start to pursue things that are more on purpose. From that point forward, I can start to live more authentically aligned to who I've been created to be, what I've been gifted to do. And then finally, the P, purposeful in pursuit, I can get up every single day and live on purpose for the goals by which I've been created for. I can live on purpose as the man I've been created for. This reorients us towards God's authorship instead of self-authorship. When we are trying to fulfill self, seek self, elevate self, we are in for a rude awakening. Eventually, it is going to come crashing down. Eventually, it is going to just gut us. I've been there and I've watched so many successful men find themselves in that same place. So, I have an action step. If this is you, if you feel like, man, this is me, I just feel like I'm in a place where I'm ambitious, I'm disciplined, I'm habitual, I'm working hard. I feel like I've been focused on really good stuff, and I'm not there. What can I do? So I'm gonna encourage you to something that may be normal for you. It may be a little bit foreign for you, but I want to help you with it. So block 15 minutes today, tomorrow, but soon, this week for sure, within the next few days of listening to this specific episode. I want you to block 15 minutes to pray through this one question. And it's this: God, where am I operating from pressure instead of purpose? Where am I operating from pressure instead of purpose? I really want you to close your eyes. If you want to bow your head, you can do that, and just pray and ask God that question. God, where am I operating from pressure instead of purpose? And then just sit. And as you start to feel things, as you start to hear echoes of words, phrases, just start writing them down. Write down whatever comes up. That is the first sentence of your next chapter. Right? The point of this episode is to talk to you about writing this next chapter of your life, really towards building legacy. And it starts with understanding, where am I operating in the wrong places? So that's my encouragement to you. If that's where you're feeling a little bit challenged, that's the first action step. We'll come back to that in just a little bit. Okay. Once you know where misalignment is happening, so you've done that exercise, maybe you have to do it a couple of times. Once you've done that exercise, you'll start to understand where misalignment is coming from. Once you know where misalignment is coming from, then you're prepared for the next step, which is designing a life that outlasts you. I don't know about you, but I mean, I definitely want to leave a lasting impact. I want to make an impact now, I should say. I want to make an impact right now on my family, on my friends, on my colleagues, on my clients. I want to make an impact. I want to see the fruit of the work that I do be produced, right? I want to see that happen. But I want to leave a lasting impact when I leave this world. I mean, I want to be remembered, but I want to be remembered because I contributed positively to the people that God has entrusted to me. Legacy is going to be built. That type of legacy is going to be built through daily formation, not big moments. The life you leave behind when you die is shaped by the habits you live today. This, you guys, is so incredibly important. And I just can't help stress this enough. Most men that I come across, they really struggle with this. I mean, they definitely, I think everybody, most people I know want to leave a lasting impact. But what I often see happen is men, they want to be stronger husbands, they want to be stronger fathers, they want to be stronger leaders. But your habits end up destroying you. This is, again, I think I talked about this last time, but this is why I hate the word grind. You are grinding yourself to dust, to nothing, right into the ground. You are destroying yourself trying to make a name for yourself. And as much as I think it is important to lay it all on the line as God calls us to, I think more often than not, we are destroying ourselves trying to make an impact, and we are just misaligned to who God is calling us. This is why it's really important that as we think, I mean, you're probably going to be watching this, listening to this towards the end of 2025. And or you're going to catch us at the beginning of 2026. And so you're thinking about new year, new you. You're thinking about all the ways in which you're going to build, and you're going to have set some new goals. You're going to create habits and disciplines to achieve those goals, which is all wonderful. But I really want you to think about what you're trying to accomplish. And if you've felt that gap, that lack of satisfaction, I want to help you see that your motivation should be tied to spiritual discipline, to strengthening your home, and to walking in personal integrity. Daily formation. If I am in the Word of God, if I am praying on a daily basis, I say having conversations with God. I just kind of randomly talk to God throughout the day. I pray functionally and intentionally in the morning, or structurally and intentionally in the morning, but I just kind of talk to the Lord all day. What's going on? Here's a thought. What do you think? Can you speak to me? What about this? Build spiritual disciplines. That is going to shape you, and it's going to impact not only who you are, but how you impact other people. Strengthening your home. I mean, this is the greatest legacy that we can leave. We were having this conversation with one of my kids. I think only one of them was there. It may have been both of them, but I think it was just my youngest. And we were talking about the fact, my wife and I were talking about the fact that, I was raised in a culturally kind of Catholic home, but it just wasn't a big thing for us. My wife was definitely raised in a culturally Christian home. They went to church from time to time, from some seasons and not others, but it wasn't what shaped them completely. And as the result of that, it created a lot of holes, a lot of gaps, a lot of weakness in myself and in my wife. And we were sharing with our daughter, we said, man, how cool is it that God has been so kind to us that he has allowed us to break that chain and reform a new one that is going to deeply invest into our family and our home in such a way that it's going to live on by God's grace for generations to come. My kids, my oldest one kind of remembers not being Christian. She was 7 once she gave her life to the Lord. Once we gave our lives to the Lord, she did about the same time. My youngest one knows nothing other, and they are both all in on Jesus. And it's just so amazing to see that, like, that's what they know. And that's what they're asking of their boyfriends, who maybe could be their future husbands. So I'm strengthening my home. We are strengthening our home so they will strengthen theirs. That's the legacy we want to live. And personal integrity, doing right as God calls us to. These are the habits that we want to make sure that we build into our day to day. I mean, you've heard me talk about the 5 pillars of greatness: faith, relationships, health, stewardship, and leadership. Think about all of the ways that spiritual discipline, strengthening your home, and walking in personal integrity can positively impact all 5 of those areas. And if you're able to positively impact all 5 of those areas, just think about what an incredible legacy you can live. If you are consistent in your faith, consistent in your relationships, consistent in your health, consistent in your stewardship, consistent in your leadership, do you understand what kind of light you are going to shine onto those around you? I mean, it's incredible to see. It's incredible to think about and to picture. I mean, again, like when I think about impacting my home, my parents, my in-laws, fitness was not a thing for any of them. They weren't active like that. My wife and I are. Michelle and I are consistently in the CrossFit gym. We're trying to do right by what we eat, what we drink or don't drink, how we supplement, and just all the ways that we're investing into our bodies. And our kids are doing that as well, both in the CrossFit gym now as well. And they're trying to pay attention to what they eat. Obviously, they're kids. So I mean, my 23-year-old's not a kid, but you get it. Anyway, and so it's like, we're seeing this play out. We're seeing the positive impacts. And I want to encourage you to think about how you're living your life in each of those 5 pillars of greatness and how it is impacting the people around you and what people are going to say about you after you leave. My dad was one of the most amazing businessmen I know, but he was an absolute a-hole when he came home every night. My dad, man, he was so fit. He had a 6-pack. He was in the gym. Man, he could throw weight around with the best of them. But he wasn't very nice to my mom. And he was often really short with her. And I actually really never even saw them be too affectionate towards each other. Or my dad, man, he went to church every single Sunday. And he got up and he prayed. And it was so amazing to see. But people in his industry always called him really lazy. And even that he would throw his faith around as a way to be a buffer for not putting forth all his effort in his career. I don't want to have to experience any one of those comments. So I'm invested into all 5 pillars. But as I always want to be really helpful, I want to give you one action step from this area. So if you're in this space and you're like, yep, you know what, I want 2026 to be about daily formation. I want to focus one by one as I walk day by day. I don't want to just set one big massive goal and get after it. Then it's okay. Here's an action step for you. Choose one of those 5 pillars: faith, family, or you can say faith, relationships, because it may not be your family. It could be another relationship. So faith, relationships, health, stewardship, leadership. I want you to choose one of those pillars where you think you are the most inconsistent. And then I want to encourage you to commit to one small daily action that you can take for the next 7 days. This isn't about performance. This isn't about some big brag, because you're not going to be able to big brag on some small daily action. But this is to begin to form you. This is the way that legacy is going to take root, is by focusing on one thing at a time, one pillar, one action inside of one pillar, getting really good at it, and then moving on to the next one. Hopefully by this point, you're starting to understand what matters most. And once you know what matters most, now it's time to turn that vision, that idea, into a plan you can actually execute. So I want to help you write out the next 12 months of your life, the whole of 2026, with intention, not with impulse, not just looking around, getting inspired by what somebody else says and being like, oh, I need to put that in there. Oh, I need to do that. The next chapter of your life, this next year of your life, needs to be written on purpose, or the world is going to write it for you. Somebody is going to write out the next 12 months of your life. If you are a reactionary type of person, the world's writing it out for you. If you're constantly chasing the next best thing, the world is writing it out for you. If you're listening to today's latest, greatest guru or influencer, they're going to write it for you. Unless you intend to write it yourself. Unless you commit to writing your own. I have seen far too many men that have allowed the world to write their story. This was me for the first, 5 years of my professional career, maybe more. And then on, even once I came to faith, the next few years after that, as I was trying to figure everything out, I was just constantly looking to the world around me. What was somebody else doing? What were they saying? What were they accomplishing? Oh, I want that too. Man, this crushed me. I remember it was mid 2020. So obviously we're in the middle of the pandemic, and actually my business was going pretty well at that point, and I felt so alone. I felt so alone because I was, and what was interesting was, even though we were tending to be shut in. I was playing golf a couple times a week with buddies. I was in the gym, or I was working out with other people almost every single day. So I was around people, good people, but I didn't have the type of people around me that were helping to reflect back to me who and what I needed to be pursuing in the right ways. And so I was just pursuing whatever was right in front of me. Be a better golfer, get my business to $1 million a year. There were some other ones in there, and it really started to suck. And by the grace of God, a good friend of mine, who started off, we met on LinkedIn. He came on my podcast, or I think I was on his podcast and he came on my podcast. He helped me with a bunch of writing projects early on. He would introduce me to another friend of his that I hired as a consultant. He then, as a consultant, this next guy invested into my business. And they were all talking about this mastermind that they were a part of. He was, and my other buddy before. So finally one day I said to my buddy, Zach, this is the second guy, consultant turned friend. I was like, dude, when are you going to invite me into this thing? He was like, oh gosh, I didn't know that you wanted to be invited in. And I said, yes, this is exactly what I need. This is exactly what I am looking for. And so I ended up getting connected to the founder. I joined a month later, and for the next couple of years, that would turn out to be one of the most forming experiences of my life, because they never stopped encouraging me to build my business. What they did is they kept encouraging me to ensure that as I built my business, I aligned my business goals and the rest of my life to my faith and my family. And it was so incredibly powerful. Every guy that would end up coming into that mastermind, which is now all but defunct for a whole lot of reasons, was coming in for the same reasons. They wanted support. They wanted accountability, but more than anything, every one of these guys desired a path to become the man that God had called them to be. What was interesting was it was a big Christian mastermind, and so everybody that came in was a Christian, but they didn't always come in verbalizing, I want to become the man God has called me to be. They came in verbalizing, oh, I've got a challenge with my business, or I've got a challenge in my marriage. But by nature, because of the culture of the mastermind, because of the makeup of the men that were in it, we eventually would get to a place where everyone was being shaped into the man that God was calling them to be. It was incredible. The power of a 12-month plan that I am encouraging you to will create the same opportunities for you, especially if you do that in the context of a good, godly community of like-minded men that are like you, which is what we have with our Men of Greatness community. By the way, we just hit 100 men in there. I'm so pumped on that. We did that in about 2.5 months, and we still got a couple of more weeks left in the year. I think we'll get a few more in there. We've got incredible things planned for 2026, but every single one of these guys is coming in desiring something similar. And so we're going to begin laying out plans for every one of the guys to build a 12-month plan. And what I'm encouraging you to do, and this is what I'm encouraging all my guys to do and all my one-to-one clients to do, our retreat members to do, our intensive members to do, is to ensure that you have your goals tied to spiritual formation, family or relationships, health, stewardship, and leadership, right? One of those 5 areas. Again, that's right in line with our 5 pillars of greatness. There was no accident. And those are very common things. But when you do this, especially when it starts off with spiritual formation, which has got to be the first thing you focus on every single time. You heard me say this in the last episode. I'm saying it again in this one. I'm going to keep saying this. When you plan with God, you're not just improving your year. You are shaping your lineage for decades, for centuries to come, generations to come. This is the way that we create an incredible life for ourselves now and leave one for those that will be here when we're gone. Isn't that what you want? Don't you want to make an impact that lasts far beyond you? Yes, you want an impact now, and I want that for you too. But it can go much farther. It doesn't need to peter out when you die. It can continue on. So here's your action step. I want you to write down 12 months from now, this is the man I want to become. Write that down. 12 months from now, this is the man that I want to become. And then I want you to write it down. Who do you want to become? Spiritually, relationally, health-wise, stewardship, and leadership. Who do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? What do you want people to see in you? See you doing, see you saying. Who is that man? And then identify one decision you need to make this week that will help you to walk towards becoming more like that man. This is baby steps, guys. One step towards one facet of becoming the man that God is calling you to be. So far, I've helped you to unpack the why, the what, and the how. So let's now bring this all home so you can really gain some clarity around what you're going to do next. So a couple of things that are really important. So number one, alignment precedes ambition. I talked about this in the first area. Build your next chapter on God's direction, not on pressure, not on ambition, right? Number two, legacy grows from daily formation. Small disciplines shape the man your family, your community will remember for decades, for generations to come. And finally, putting together a 12-month plan can turn calling into clarity, and clarity will become the action you need to achieve that 12-month plan. So my question for you is where are you in life right now? Living the old chapter, even though God has invited you into a new one. How are you living in such a way that is not reflective of who God is calling you to be? Sit with that and let God speak into it. When you go on a walk, when you're sitting in the quiet by yourself for a minute or two, just, God, who do you want me to be? And what's it going to take to get out of it? One baby step at a time. Writing your next chapter isn't about just trying harder, right? It's about obedience. It's about identity. It's about purpose. This isn't self-improvement. I just wrote a lengthy post on LinkedIn talking about how much I hate the self-improvement movement. It's trash. We need spiritual formation. That is the path to becoming the man that God has called you to be. My challenge is to think back to those 3 action opportunities that I gave you and commit to one of them. Is it the 12-month plan? Is it a daily action step? And then apply those to your 12-month plan. Not someday, not when life slows down, not when you get past this thing, right freaking now. Because the man that God is calling you to be is not going to happen by accident. It's going to happen by intention and alignment to God himself. So if you are ready for that clear path, for accountability, and a brotherhood committed to greatness through God, take this step. This is the moment your chapter begins. And if you need more than this podcast, if you need more than this video, jump into our community. You can find it as a link in the show notes below. You can find it all over my socials. Men of Greatness is a private community. It is free. For the love of God, there's no excuse. And I'm jumping in there right now. Be teaching our Forged in the Word Bible study. I'm recording this on a Thursday. We do it every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern time. So I'm out so I can go teach that study. Can't wait to join with the men. We're walking through the book of Proverbs right now. We'll do that for the remainder of the year. We got some other exciting stuff coming up. Thank you guys so much for your support. Appreciate you. It is time that you become the man that God has called you to be. Quit waiting. Peace.